Welcome everybody, my name's Tom Wright, I'm an associate artist here. I can claim no credit for the show we're about to discuss. It's merely my job to make sure everything goes smoothly and is well lubricated in every sense of the word. So I'm going to be here at Festival Time. And the show we're talking about tonight is The Wolves by Sarah Delap. And at the very far end is the director Jess Arthur, and Jess will be introducing everybody else in the assembled team because it takes my memory slightly too much memory. Jess is an associate artist. What's your role? You're resident director now at SPC.
Yeah.
Is the resident director of Sydney Theatre Company, and so she's moonlighting and having an illicit summer holiday here at Belvoir Street. Welcome, Jess. It's lovely to have you in the building. Could you introduce the assembled throng for us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
This is Nikita, Sophia, Cece, what have I got? Sarah, Michelle, Emma, Brenna, Renee, Nadia, and Chika. And then put your hand up if you're playing in the team, and put your hand up if you're soccer mum. And we can go down the line really quickly, and they can tell you which character they're playing. Go.
46.
8, 7,
13. 14.
11,
25. Soccer mom.
2,
0, 0.
Cool.
Just warm us up a bit, Jess, by telling us about the play. Excuse me, so we'll get this going. Just tell us a bit about the play, how old it is, the origins of it when Sarah first started to write it, and what drew your attention to it.
Yeah, Sarah was 27 when she wrote it. I think she was in a gallery and was overhearing conversation and just loved the way that, just listening to the way conversation works, the way it can come in quick, overlap, people can have differing opinions and stuff like that. And she was really inspired to then leave, and apparently on the train she just started writing a whole bunch of dialogue about the Khmer Rouge. She just chose that topic and just went for it, and that's how the play actually started to form. She had a scene by the end of it, and in it was a group of 9 women just chatting about everything at once. So that's how it started. So she was quite young at it. It was about in 2015 that it was on and it was nominated for the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, but didn't win, but was one of the finalists, which is quite amazing. And she wanted to really just create a play for young women, to just put them on stage and have them really go for it. So, and that's what it is. It's a very quick, fast-paced musical piece of theatre. And I can let you know what it's about too. It takes place over 6 weeks, and you watch this team who are undefeated. You watch them train before every match. So they play indoor soccer, and you're a bit of like a fly on the wall, watching them do warm-ups, drills, have chats about life, and get ready just before they're about to go on the field every week. Yeah.
To a certain extent, it's a play about coming into adulthood.
Yeah.
But it's also a portrait of a particular political time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe a useful question to start with is it's an American play.
Yes.
To what extent does its Americanness present problems, and to what extent does it liberate the production? Because I should say this has been on before. For those who aren't aware, it had a season at the Old Fitz last year when Eamon Flack and members of the creative team saw it and just fell in love with it. So we're, in the spirit of Belvoir, trying to give the chance for a piece of independence theatre to be seen by a slightly larger audience. Tell us a bit about that kind of way in which it works as a text, that American versus Australian thematics.
Yeah, I originally totally tried to reject that and change it to an Australian context, which we weren't allowed to do in the Fitz version, which is totally fair enough. And a reason for that was because it would be amazing for there to be a play for young Australian women to explore their context, but we then very quickly switched over and embraced this American context. And it works differently in America, and that's what we've had to figure out, is that, especially when it comes to the soccer system and the schooling system specifically, it is quite competitive, and you have to pay your fees, there and then. They don't have HECS and stuff like that. So it's so important for young women in America to find pathways into good universities, and a way to do that is through sport, and that's a very, very big thing. Not so much a thing here, especially not for women. So that's been a really excellent thing for us to explore, especially right now in Australia, when women's sport is actually becoming a thing that people go to, a thing that people enjoy. So the Matildas are really killing it right now in soccer, the Australian cricket team, AFL team, women's team. So that's been something we've been looking at. But when it comes to it, they're all young women, and they act the same as young Americans and young Australians would. So it is about the relationships, the time in their life, and them trying to navigate that kind of can translate across anywhere.
And one of the ways in which that's been remarked on is that we don't actually see the games of football, we don't see the soccer games, but we do see the timeouts and the warm-ups and the drills and the rituals of preparation, which is a chance for young women who bring a great deal of social and family pressure from the streets outside to find a safe space, and a space where actually forms of resistance can be started. So the beginnings of a politically radical play are there. It's about safe spaces, which are not set up as safe spaces, but are insisted upon and made as safe. And it's not just worth just talking a bit about the set or the design that the audience will see when they come in, because in a way it creates a cage, a metaphorical and literal cage.
Exactly, yeah. So Maya Keys is the set designer, and we had quite a strong concept straight up, which was about it being so much this girl's world and their turf and their private space that as an audience you're coming in and almost intruding on. But a way to really separate that is we've got a net that actually separates the audience and the women on stage all the way around. So if you've been to any kind of indoor sporting place, you'll see there's nets up, so it's great because they actually have the freedom to kick the balls anywhere they want, even towards the audience. But it is kind of like a cage, and it is a safe space, and it is their space. It's so special and it's so unique to them, and I think there are moments for the audience to all of a sudden feel like they kind of shouldn't be there because this isn't your world, and it shouldn't be your world. This is their world. So creates a great distinction there, but it's also a great chance and opportunity for them to explore all these things, all the inner workings inside, all the stuff that they're trying to kind of figure out as a young woman, and it is a high energy, high stakes situation. So we're really excited to get into the theatre because right now we're rehearsing without a net, but once you're in that, it really, and that happened last time, really changes the space, and it becomes quite intimate. So we do kind of have walls up, which is useful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, just on that, also thought that I've never played sport before this, but there was about safe spaces, it was really nice because I felt like by entering this all-female sports team, it really feels that way in an all-female cast and creative team that we have. And so when you walk into the rehearsal room, it has this sort of camaraderie or this sort of community of a really safe environment that feels really special that I don't think that many of us have experienced before. So it's really nice to have that space, and it is a really unique environment to work in, which I think is my way in on a female ensemble does mirror what a sports team might feel like, in that ensemble, the team kind of supporting each other. So that's been really nice as well.
It's not just about that though, is it, about creating a space? There's also a sense that it's being on the cusp of adulthood in a way in which you need to create a shell in order to survive, but also how do you stay vulnerable, that kind of... Maybe someone else want to talk about that, about the way in which it's initially about football, but actually a great deal more is discussed than sport, isn't it? Is that sometimes the business of being distracted by having to sort of dribble the ball, warm up, can distract the body and enable the voice to actually say points of vulnerability your character might not say otherwise. Well, maybe someone who did the first season, because not everybody on stage did the first season. What was it like when you took it up in front of an audience?
It certainly changes things. So I don't want to ruin too much, you should all come. There's a moment where I feel particularly vulnerable, which is exactly what Tom was talking about, where my character is doing a technically kind of tricky thing that Nikita, the actor, really struggles with. And the pressure of having a full audience every night at the Fitz, which we were blessed with, really meant that moment caused a lot of kind of stress for me. But I think this time round, we found a way for me to kind of internalize that a lot more as my character. And yeah, it totally is a moment of 46's vulnerability, but then also liberation for me, the actor, because I can be free and just be doing the soccer thing and forget almost what I'm doing. But does someone else want to talk about, because you guys do a lot of actual drills, which my character, because she's new in the play, in the team, doesn't actually participate in as much.
Well, talk us through how you got yourselves up to being a believable competitor.
Yeah.
champions of the league, potentially.
Yeah, no one's seen it yet.
Well, I'm sure you'll aspire to be believable. Tell us about the training regime.
Well, I mean, last time we weren't even all in Sydney, so we couldn't really.
We wanted to make a team, but
Yeah.
everyone's all over the shop with where they live, so that didn't happen.
We did like, I guess, individual. We had a week at the end of
December,
2017.
Yeah.
Where we were actually working to change the text to an Australian context, but at the same time we were learning soccer skills for the first time. And we had Mandela, who is also an actor, who is also a soccer coach.
And who you remember from Summer in Paradise, he's an actor, the last show we would have done.
Yeah, he came in and took us to the park. It was like 35 degrees.
Yeah.
And made us run around for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's when we first started doing drills. And I mean, some people have played soccer before. I've played soccer before now.
Yeah.
But for a lot of us, we don't have the experience that these characters have.
Did you get better more rapidly than you thought?
Yeah, and also it was really interesting then when it combined with the text.
Yeah.
Because it was like working on the
Oh, yeah.
text, okay, we've got that, and then working on the soccer, okay, we've got that, and then it was like. But surprisingly, it almost like the script itself is so rhythmic and so specific in its structure that the soccer like allowed the text to sing. And so like once we combined the physicality of it, the text actually worked almost more freely.
And you got better at the skills once you put the text in, because it's like you're talking about, there's just this side of your brain that switches off and it goes into kind of natural mode. Yeah, so they do really work hand in hand.
And you just become so present and responsive, which makes the dialogue so much more natural in that world.
This is a really sort of year 11 dumb question, so pardon for asking it. But in what way is it a play of the times? Because it feels like America is the site for a great deal of our anxiety, global anxiety. It always has been, but under the current incumbent of the White House, it feels like there's a great deal of a sense of the potential for us to revert back to some kind of hideous anarchic childhood. Is it a play of the times, or is it actually a play against the times? You know what I mean? Have you found yourselves thinking about those kind of issues? Because it feels to me like your families, your characters' families are dealing with a great deal of pressures that your characters have to learn how to resist. I mean, to what extent is it, this is just going back to your point, Jess, about on one level it's Australian, one level it's not.
Well, I think globally right now there are a lot of young people speaking out about injustices, and I think that's something we're always going back to, is like, it is a time where a lot of horrible stuff's going down. But what we're actually seeing more than ever is a lot of young people taking centre stage, like, you know, for the gun rights, like all that stuff, especially in America. A lot of young people are coming out and being very political and being like, we're not going to wait around and keep letting this stuff happen because this is our future. And I think that is very alive within this play, and they're the people that we really have been looking at as inspirations and you know, the people who kind of pioneer that we're quite interested in. Like, so I think it is very much a play of the times, because it's so much, I think Sarah's putting so much trust and love and respect into young people, and specifically young women, as people who have the power to look forward, to make change, to be adaptable, to look to a different future and go for that. So, and I think that's so present within this play. Yeah.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, we also had a few script edits
from
the first time,
she's changed
which
stuff.
were very much a reflection of, I mean, there was a few different character things, but there was some big changes to
politically keeping up with what's going on in America with immigration and ICE and stuff. So.
And did you do those edits for this production? Was it for the London production or one of the subsequent American ones?
Sure.
I think it was for London.
Yeah.
I think it was in between our last one and this one. Yeah.
But the original script is written pre-Trump. So
Yes.
It's not really a thing.
But there's a mood abroad, isn't there? I mean, I'm just one of the reasons why we're so excited about this play is that it's not just about the stuff that we've just been talking about as well. There's an even deeper radicalism at work, which is that it's about sort of actually the female body as a site of kind of radical resistance. not just as athletic excellence, but kind of sexually as well. It's a place that's actually no longer scared and won't be dominated and isn't sort of hashtag out of existence.
Yes.
Can actually, it's given enough collective space and time, can sexualise itself and prepare itself for the adult world, and it's kind of beautiful to observe. That's why I sort of feel like it's speaking now.
Yeah, massively.
It doesn't sort of seek to dance to someone else's tune, the women on stage set their own tune. So,
has the original author been doing the changes for London, etc.?
Yes, that's so they'll have to do it. But I don't think that under any licence would be allowed to let anyone else rewrite their play. Would anyone else like to ask a question of the Central Throng about what you're going to see?
Does it? Does the play have any really political overtones, or is it just the girls having a lot of good times with sport?
It depends what you define as politics. I'm a bit like to answer that.
But the way the play was written in America, obviously you wonder about an awful lot of Americans are very political.
Yes.
And you just wonder whether there's some sort of political bias or political overtones on it.
And again, like I said at the start, I'm not answering the question obviously on anyone's behalf, but there's the difference between the personal being political and the capital P politics. There's Washington DC politics, which is what I was referring to earlier. And then there's also the small p politics, which in many ways is the more radical side these days. So we'd like to talk about kind of the extent to which it is political, or just even for you as actors, how it's been.
I think that within the ensemble of characters, everybody has, I mean, they're 9 very different young women, and they all come from very different contexts. Some are more maybe politically ignorant than others, and some are maybe more aware or have I mean, I think it's really interesting how it's written, because young women do talk about politics like all the time, and in the play they discuss, I mean, they're studying history, they're studying a lot about what's going on in the world, so they're internalizing these big concepts and they are bringing them up. And because of everybody's upbringings, it's really interesting to see how this topic, for example, the Khmer Rouge, is like dropped into this circle and how it splinters off with 9 different opinions on this. I think that it's been interesting. I can only speak for my own character, but she is someone who's really trying to be a good Samaritan and volunteer, and doesn't really know what to do with the big issues of the world, so she's just trying to do what she can for it, which is some, really simple little things, because she doesn't really know how to. So it's kind of seeing a young girl grapple with these huge concepts and not know how to deal with them personally. But I guess it's different for everyone's characters as well.
Yeah, I think the politics definitely bubble under the play, and you see little pops here and there about what the climate is at the time and what each of those characters thinks of that and how they interact with it. But I personally, being in a world where we're so oversaturated by all of these headlines and all of these things going on that are often quite draining and upsetting, especially when it's coming out of America, I find a real relief in this play that whilst all that's happening, and whilst these girls come from different families who have different ideas and are dealing with different things, there is a unity around the game that they're playing and the things that they're facing that kind of, allows you to sit easy in the play and let those things exist without them being overwhelming or being preachy.
Yeah, it's a great sort of point, isn't it? It's a little mini society is constructed, and a society of unified purpose in an age where everybody's been fractured against each other and turned into sort of individual consumers. A sporting team, by definition, has to learn skills of trust that elsewhere in the world are under assault, which is on one level political, but on another level it's actually anti-political. It's a completely separate thing. You brought it up a couple of times, so it might be just worth expanding a little bit. On one level, the discussion of what took place in Cambodia under Pol Pot is of no relevance whatsoever. There are no, unless I've missed something, there are no Cambodian characters on stage.
But there's a Cambodian actor. No, that's fine.
which is gives about rule for our production. What's that about? What's about perhaps one of the most horrific moments in the world's history in the last 50 years, intersecting with the world of this play? What do you think's going on there?
I feel like my experience of this context is really personal because I am Cambodian. My character isn't Cambodian and doesn't know about the Khmer Rouge, which was kind of a mind fuck. Because I have to almost be like, I don't know about it, it's fine, rather than getting like really, really angry. But it's really interesting when I think about that context because we were kind of bringing it up again about the relationship. Really briefly, I think we were bringing it up against like Nazi Germany and Hitler. And it's that relationship about like how it was a country which isn't European, and there's almost this like separation from that, which makes me feel, because of who I am, like quite uncomfortable because I'm someone who was just like, this is really wrong. Like that whole era was really, really wrong. It was really recent, and also the way that it's still being like, it's still in the news now about like people who were the leaders of that era, they've grown up to be like 90 years old or whatever, and they still haven't been prosecuted for it, which is bizarre because I feel like if it was like a European context, like this wouldn't happen. It's just the relationship that we talk about it in like the white context versus like the non-white context. I guess that makes sense.
Yes, it's such an interesting. It relates back to the point that was being made, is that this is not some vacuum of, because the media image of young women is as a kind of sort of selfie-taking, social media colonised group of sort of potential consumers, as I was saying before, but actually the play says the degree of political sophistication and ability to ensure pathways out is shown to be something that's learnt as well. It's not just something that comes naturally. I'm just intrigued about the idea of Cambodia because it's sort of, as I said, it's such an important part of recent history, and yet seems so absent from a lot of contemporary discourse in a way that even the former Yugoslavia or Sudan isn't.
Yeah. It's also a topic in their social studies class, is that correct?
Yeah. I was gonna
So
say
it kind of is introduced. It's introduced because it's a part of their social studies class, which kind of starts the topic.
And some people are more informed than others, aren't they?
Yes, and also not all of them go to the same school.
And while that's happening, some of us are having a conversation about periods. So it's
that's what I was getting before about the radical body, isn't it?
Yes.
You have to set that up in order to work the audience. Anybody who's seen upstairs, it's 6 minutes to, you need to make a move. I'm conscious that some people might be.
Sorry. Thank you.
Just want to look after everybody, I don't want to panic. Would anyone else like to ask anything? Please.
What was like the process from taking it from the old fits to Belvoir?
It's very neat.
Well, they haven't actually put me in yet, so we're in the midst of that process. And at the moment, they're not even at Belvoir rehearsal room.
No. The big difference is the space.
Oh, so great. It's so wonderful to take it from that space to this space. It feels like this is where the show should... It feels like a most wonderful space to be doing this play. And the Fitz was hilarious. Nine soccer balls.
Yeah, it's happening in here.
No, in the original production was in a space this size.
So it's upstairs.
The next one's upstairs.
Yeah. So it's really wonderful to get to do it again in a more appropriate space.
And the seating banks, the way that the audience sits around the stage as well is really different. So we're able, as performers, to have more private moments, which works actually for the play's material because you've got 2 other rows and we're not always having to play out, even though we're trying to show that we're within our own world. So that actually has been really interesting to have small moments that maybe only these people will catch, but that's okay.
It's a big blessing that we have the second round we go again, because the first season we only had 2 and a bit weeks rehearsal, and so I personally found that I only was like clocking things on our 3rd week of the season, but now it's like I felt like I've gone back to where I ended, and I'm looking at those things now in the rehearsal process rather than just going, that was the first layer, and going like there's a second layer and a third layer, and it's just complexity, which is what you need,
Well,
and
that's
time.
Let's drill in deeper. What about things that you found? Are you making any changes? The two cast members are new, but I won't tell you who they are. That's a special questionnaire for when you see the show. But have you made any other alterations to allow for the big space?
I've made heaps of changes, I think.
Yeah.
The soccer drills, we've gotten Mandela back in to really tidy up and kind of push the skills to the next level. So they've gone next level skills wise, which is really cool. And because they've already done that foundation, it means we can just come in and much quicker and harder and push it away. Even the fitness levels, it's been, I don't know, I haven't said this out loud because I'm too scared to, but I'm saying it. But last time I'd be like, well, maybe try doing like 10 push-ups then. Everyone's like, well, as if, like, and now everyone's just like, should we add on like some more push-ups? And I'm like, okay, go on, like, that's fine. So like even fitness levels way up, that, like, so everyone's just throwing themselves into it. But yeah, because of the way the space is like orientated, it means we can kind of play it more realistically or more naturally in a way, and it's been a bit hard on the brain because before you were so squashed together, and we're talking about this today, like the girls could kind of hide, like if they weren't doing something they could just be up the back kicking the ball and like even though it's a smaller, closer space you could, but now there's so much space that like any decision someone makes, they're way out in the open, and it needs to have something, there needs to be a reason behind it, especially when you've got like everyone's got a ball each, like we've got 9 balls, 9 people, then we got up to 10, you know, or if someone else is on the stage, so it's been great, like blocking wise you can kind of say a lot more because you can space people out, pull someone out and do that, so it has changed quite a bit. We've got another bench. Yes, 2 benches. Yeah, so that's been a big change.
Anyone like to sponsor the second bench?
I don't have that much money. I missed the whip through of ages, and was that the ages that they're each playing?
Oh no.
No.
Jersey number.
What ages are they playing? What's the
16 to 17.
What?
16 to 17.
They're all 16, 17. No, I mean the Wolves.
Oh, sorry.
So by our standards, I suppose year 10, 11.
Yes.
That sort of.
Yeah.
Whereas the numbers are very much.
I think it's 11, 12.
12.
Yeah.
Grade 10, 11.
Yeah, more, yeah. Certainly the still at school.
Yeah.
But that's sort of related to my question, because I had this idea it was college, but now I know that it's actually younger than that.
Yes.
Because you mentioned about they came from different schools.
Yes.
So
High school.
yeah, changes things.
Yes,
quite a bit.
and that's why it's important, because they're at the age where they've got to really start thinking about what they're doing in their future, what they're going to study, and how they get into certain universities.
Yeah.
So we have a college showcase tournament during the
Yes.
And the schools that they go to now are mixed schools or single sex, or
They're
that's not
mixed,
an
yeah.
issue?
Oh, except for
No,
except
they
for
go to
you guys.
Catholic
I think
school.
they're all-
They go to Catholic or girls. These two. Everyone else goes to the same co-ed.
And my character's homeschooled.
Homeschooled.
It's a big thematic thing. It's not just about the potential to go to college as well. So this the last couple of years that you were sort of legalist of the child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The tyranny of family, or the safety of family, and issues like that are very important. Whereas I suppose in a college context, it's different.
Yeah.
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 Please.
The 9 balls thing, was that in the script or was that a directorial decision?
Well, basically, what she's given you is they should be training the entire time. Like, they should be doing drills the entire time. Every now and then, she might throw something in about, like spiderweb. Like, yeah, they do the spiderweb, which is a drill, or the goalie. Chica down the end is the goalie. It's like she'll do individual goalie drills right now, but that's as specific as she's going to get, and there's not a lot of that in there. The most specific she gets is with like how someone enters.
And there is some
like
passing.
they're running.
See through.
Left, right, inside, outside, sometimes.
Yeah. She gives you like little hints, but not specifically written. Now everyone goes and does this thing, and this person passes to this person, and this happens. Like, we've had to generate everything that happens within that. So there is a logic, and Brenna is the captain on the team, and kind of like blocking assistant, because we've had to find, as everyone kind of has been, but we've had to find a logic. We've tried to start it with the very first week is very early in their warm up. So it's stretching. So it starts with stretching, and then it goes
cardio. The second week is cardio, and then individual ball skills.
Ball skills.
Third week we do like high knees, butt kicks, and then we do like partner work.
Partners, yeah.
And then we kind of go back to the stretch sequence again. But it was interesting because we reblocked a scene recently.
Yeah.
We were doing the scene, and I was like, I can't get through this scene. Like, I'm struggling so hard. And I realized it was because the way that we blocked the movements was anti-intuitive to the words in the scene. So there would be like an awkward pause and then we change on that, and it just didn't work. And so when we reblocked it, it was so much easier to remember where the changes were and where the lines were, because we put it with the intuition of the script, which is also, like I think Sarah was talking before about, like the musicality of the script, and that those sort of things, those sort of indications are kind of in there. So it makes you have a deeper understanding of text and what you need to be doing for the text and what you need to be doing for your other actors in the movement. It's like a whole other tool that you can play with. It's quite cool.
And this is one of the amazing things about this play, is that this is a 26-year-old playwright and it's effectively a first play, certainly first full play, and its degree of textual sophistication in the way in which the intersection between action and thought is that of someone writing their 10th or 11th play. So there's a sense here of also getting a chance to watch possibly one of the most interesting playwrights in the next 20 years at entry level, because you sort of, everybody's now thinking, what's next? No pressure, Sarah.
Actually, one more. I was going to ask, what was the year that the first production happened, or what you wrote?
I think it's 2015 was the first production, the first time it was put on in America, But the great, even looking at the text on the page is really interesting because it's in columns, and it's so musical. So like there's 3 people having a conversation here at the same time this conversation's going, which intersects with this one, and there's another whole third column usually. And that's like 3 separate conversations going on at once.
We find ourselves often laughing because we'll all be having a conversation in the dressing room, and then we'll realise it's exactly right.
Sometimes I just listen to conversations happening and I'm like, take notes.
And that means you also don't get every single piece of information. So everyone will have such a different experience of seeing this play and take different things from it.
You could see it like 9 different times and just watch one.
You suggest that?
I think you should, you should buy 9 tickets now.
different spots around the
Of course,
because you'll get, like, there'll be 2, just say you're the audience, you'll get 2 girls over here having a conversation, which means these people will only be getting it. No one over there is going to get it. But at the same time, you've got like 5 people over there doing something completely different.
How do you stop sort of FOMO syndrome and kind of
well, that's why you buy 9 tickets.
You just don't miss out.
This reminds, maybe it's a female thing, because I saw, you would know, I can't remember the name of it, the play that had all-female cast last year at the STC.
Top Girls.
Yes. And there were moments in that when they were sitting around the table where you didn't know who to watch because they were just all talking over the top of each other. And
Sarah constructs it so well though, like she makes sure that the words you need to hear are not overlapped. So you'll pick up someone say, Khmer Rouge or Twitter or Chinese Twitter, and then it builds up to liberties, and then we shouldn't take our liberties for granted, and then you're like all on the same conversation, but you've heard bits of that and bits of the period conversation, but you're there. Which is so smart.
I don't think our overlapping periods are as long as they are in Top Girls.
No.
It's huge chunks.
They were big chunks,
The Wolves, are you within the play involved in social media and catfishing and that sort of stuff?
No catfishing in this one. There's a bit of social media.
The great thing. There are a few mentions of social media.
But you're not busy with screens.
No, because we're too busy getting ready for this game. So it's really awesome to be. Portraying a story in which that's not the #1 priority for the day. But
if it's anything like Belvoir at the moment, there'll be more screens in the audience. That sort of blue glow is actually coming.
I should that.
I'm conscious that we're starting to run out of time, and actually conversations all can be better. Yes, ma'am, have the last word by with.
How did you cast the girls?
Oh.
They all have different personalities, obviously you do.
Yeah.
But and that's called for an script.
They all really want to know the answer. Thank you. Do we really need to finish up? No, sorry. It's the first time round for the Fits, we actually had Daisy was like a casting assistant or consultant. Daisy Hicks came in, which was super useful. And over 2 days, we saw over 80 women. So these girls, put your hand up if you're in those auditions. These guys were in those auditions. So I've worked with a few of them before. Most of them I actually haven't. And I always endeavour to kind of get a group of people who haven't really worked together before. And for this, it was so important because I wanted to build a team of people. But it was hard because in the auditions, I got them to swap roles. I got them to do multiple roles. But you kind of in that moment just had to try and guess who they would be. And a lot of them gave off very specific vibes, like, and they all did every character very, very well. But yeah, eventually it came to like 2 hours of just sitting down and putting names in and figuring out the best team for the job. Yeah. So that, I don't know, it's worked, which is good. And I think it was interesting for you guys, because I think almost all of you said, "Why did you cast me as this one?" I thought I was this one, and I was like, "Well, it's not about you; it's for your character." But it's been an interesting process for everyone, because all your characters are so unique, as you've said, and everyone gets a certain amount. Some people we know all about their family. Like one character, you know all about their family life. Others, they barely even mention their family. So they really had to work to actually understand who they were as individuals and make their character their own. So this next round has been amazing, because I feel like everyone's just pushed it to the next level. And we've got Renee. We didn't have a soccer mum last time, so that's an interesting fact.
I meant to tell. That was the I've been sitting here silently.
Sorry.
I've been like,
no, it's
So who wrote that in? The original author?
Well, no. We actually had Michelle come on at the end and play. I'm not going to say more because it'll ruin it. But we had one actor play two characters in a very kind of tricky way.
And again, given how wealthy we are, we could afford it.
Yeah. They got us a bench and an extra actor. Yeah.
Not as expensive as the bench, guys.
Yeah. But it's been really great to have two completely new energies in the room. It's been so refreshing, and we've got a new goalie, which is really cool. Yeah.
Either goalie
brings it all in. We've sort of come to the end. You'd appreciate that this has been an extraordinary couple of months here at Belvoir with our Bradford County Kraken playing at the Town Hall at the moment, which I'm not like... I'm not
playing at the moment?
At Town Hall, the County Kraken. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's damn near killed us all, which is why it's wonderful to have a cohesive group of artists who know how to work in a collegiate, unified fashion to bring their excitement, as the Wolves clearly will. So we're really excited about what happens next week and the week after in this space.
Is next week the opening?
Next week's when we get into the theatre. Opens on the 7th. Could you join in thanking Jess and the team?